What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great Thursday. We're here for a little special edition. Later today, you will get that injury report, and you will get the top matchups tonight, but wanted to do a little something special here. Now, I was going to do it last night, but the Rams don't know how to put out an injury report, so I had to wait till almost the Phillies game was starting. Ridiculous, but wanted to give you this information. I see so much confusion. People don't know who Justin Evans is, a little questioning who these guys on the practice squad are. So I always try to keep you up to date with everything Eagles, but if you're missing all of those shows, obviously there's so many of those, but there's so many videos explaining the other teams. So I don't want to get lost in too much information. I know that, I'm pretty much content creator or media person out here doing that. I want to take the time to touch on what's going on with the Eagles too, because there's so many individual videos, and I know there's just so much content. It's probably hard to keep up with all of it, but I want you to know what is going on with the Eagles, with the cap space, the draft picks, how their season's going, what they look like, who's on the roster. It's not to be one of those fans who you don't even know who the players are on your team. So don't want to get anybody embarrassed out there. So let's take a look. Now, the Eagles are 4-0, baby, and you're seeing the media, the fans losing their minds. Season's over. How could the Eagles start 4-0? You've seen it all. It's hilarious. Well, unfortunately, those people don't understand with the new offensive and defensive coordinator, all of the injuries, problems are going to happen. So we've seen those issues, but they're all fixable. All things that the Eagles are working on, they know they need to fix. So not worried about it in the slightest, but atop the division here at 4-0. One of the only two remaining undefeated teams in the NFL right now. So let's go, baby. But I want to give you the cap space for right now, the future cap space. I want to break that down a little bit for you, show you the draft picks, everything. So you know that the Eagles, if they want to trade for a cornerback, if Bradley Roby can't make the active roster, they want to trade for someone, they could do that. I want to show you all the ammo the Eagles have, who they have on their squad. So let's jump right into this. Appreciate all of you. This is not a live video, but would love to hear your thoughts on this, how you're feeling about this breakdown. Appreciate you hitting that like button, subscribing, all that great stuff. Apologize if I'm all grainy and stuff. My internet just doesn't work. What a surprise. What a surprise. So let's jump right into this and start off with the Eagles cap space. So we know that in the offseason, the cap space consists of the top 51 contracts. During the season, it's all 53 players, the players on the practice squad, the IR, all that great stuff. So let's take a look at all of that real quick here. And here is the 53 players that are currently on the active roster. So not going to see Nakobe Dean or Avonte Maddox. They are on IR. That's where their money is allocated. But you can see all 53 in order, and anybody in their name in green is new to the roster this year. So you can see all the pieces that were added. How we working is beautiful to see all agents they picked. And I mean, DeAndre Swift for 1.77, Evans 1.5, 1.3 for Cunningham Street. I mean, come on, man. Howie, you are a magician. But I had mentioned that money, other money that affects the cap here. So you've got all that. Now, you have $56 million in dead money. We talked about that this offseason. You saw the media getting worked up. They don't know how that works, so that always bothers them. It's hilarious. Injured reserve, you see 7.4 is there. And obviously, that wasn't as high last time we talked because, again, Maddox and Dean are on there. So that's like $4 million that they're accounting for in that 7.4 million. And then the practice squad right now around 3.9 million. So, the Eagles, obviously, the way this works, it's very complicated. That's why during the offseason, I break it all down into detail so people don't get worked. Oh, my God, dead money. And So I'll do my best to keep you up to date with everything cap related. But here is the cap space that the Eagles currently have, 5.6 million. So you talk about what those numbers look like for all the people that the Eagles signed. I mean, you know Howie, when he signed it, someone can get things done. Now, when it comes to trading, he's going to probably have to rework a contract, restructure some things, doing things like that, giving them a new contract. He always finds a way, whether that's back ending with those dummy years, just prorating those cap hits. So Howie is the man. And right now we still have 5.6 million, and that is plenty to do whatever the hell you want, whether you want to trade or sign or whatever. And You talk about that future. Oh, well, they don't have cap space next year. Every year the media tries that. And I really wish they would just watch my videos like ESP finally started doing. Learn how this stuff works. So you see in the future, we actually do have cap space. And next year it's 59 mil, 64.5 after that, and then 92.4. Now, all of those numbers change once you cut people, sign more people, do all kinds of things. Different things in people's contracts come into play. All that stuff will change, and that is perfectly fine. But that just goes to show you that the Eagles are sitting pretty right now with money. And if they want to trade for someone, feel that they're missing a piece to get them to that Super Bowl with Avonte Maddox out, nobody else stepping up, Roby can't make the roster. If that happens, the Eagles could easily trade for someone. Now, talking about those draft picks, how many picks do the Eagles have? What picks do they have the ammo to go trade for someone? Well, the answer is yes. And we talk about 10 picks next year, having, 2 second rounders. Thank you, New Orleans Saints. You got a third, a fourth. You've got 4 fifths here. Now, that 1 fourth can turn into a fifth, and then that 1 fifth can turn into a sixth. So I'll keep you up to date, but right now, this is how it stands. This is what it looks like. But you see those 4 compensatory picks that they have there, and then that 6th rounder down there at the bottom from Tennessee. Now, that's either going to be Tennessee's pick or our pick. Whichever is the better pick, we swap with them. So that's why there's an asterisk there. So 10 picks next season, 2 second rounders. In 2025, we have a first, second, third, a fifth, and then 3 sevenths. How we've been wheeling and dealing with some of these future picks. That's why I always try to keep you up to date with all of these things. So 17 picks in the next 2 years. Let's even go, baby. And when draft day begins, then 2026 picks become available. So you have those 7 picks and you can do whatever you want. So 24 picks in the next few years, but Howie will always move those things around. But 10 picks next year, 2 second rounders. Don't tell me Howie can't make some moves, and whether that's, holding on to that and trading up in next year's draft or making a move for a star player, that is to be seen. But this Eagles team, they have definitely had their issues. So let's take a look at how this season is going and how this team is doing on offense and defense. And, the offensive side of the ball, you're 5th in points and total yardage, 12th in passing, 2nd in rushing, tied for 17th in sacks. That's an issue we had last year, too. I thought, maybe we've cleaned it up a little bit better here last game or two, but still something I want to watch out for. Interceptions, middle of the pack there, fumbles lost. So tied for 10th in turnovers. Clean that stuff up, you'll be all right. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where the Eagles have their injuries. And look, Brian Johnson's a new coordinator. His first time doing it here in the NFL. And I think that clearly, there are some things that he and Jalen Hurts need to work on and get on the same page. But it's something that we expected to happen this offseason. So I'm not really blown away by it. I think Jalen Hurts played phenomenal last game. I think this offense is going to get clicking here. The defense, that's where, again, Desai, the first few games was playing phenomenal with all those injuries, coaching phenomenal. And I think that, obviously last week, seeing Sam Howell and the Commanders do it, it's like, holy hell, that'll concern you. But you look at all those injuries and things that happen, it makes sense. And they're trying to figure out, their identity and what works and who works where. And with all these injuries, that doesn't help anything. So 16th in points and total yardage, right there in the middle of the pack, 27th against the pass. That's something crazy. The media and fans hated being number 1 against the pass last year. And now they're saying it's, you want to be number 1. So I'm not sure what they want. If you're supposed to be 1, you're not supposed to be, I don't know. But now we're 27th and it's apparently a bad thing. I think it's bad. And I think you have to understand the context though. So, when you talk about being number 2 against the run, we were number 1 the first few weeks, but 63 yards a game, still pretty damn good. But these teams are unable to run. They become one-dimensional. A lot of dinking and dunking. They're going to get those passing stats. Now, I don't want it to be 27th in the league there, so you got to work on some things. And we're getting the most pressure in the league, but we're tied for 16th in sacks. So that doesn't mean everything. I'm not a stat watcher there. And interceptions tied for 19th, but getting those turnovers, we're getting fumble recoveries. We're getting 2 turnovers per game, tied for 5th, but only half of those being interceptions. So more sacks, more interceptions, getting that pressure, but creating negative plays. That's what I need to see, not getting off these stupid little passes that create, yards after catch for the other team. So clean that stuff up. The defense for me, we'll see how, Roby does, but he's a good depth piece there. I thought, clearly Job was doing a lot better than, what the media thinks they are because, well, they just don't really know what's going on with football. So Job definitely had a couple of mistakes, but so did Darius Slay. I'm not trading or cutting Darius Slay. Media is never going to be like that, but I know they get a lot of people worked up, and I just want you to know that there's context to this stuff. And, the Eagles season isn't over. 4-0 is actually pretty good. So I don't know, man. Let the media keep spinning what they want. I'm going to show you why I think this Eagles team still a dynasty, still winning this Super Bowl and building something truly special here. And it takes the pieces, obviously we saw what Howie has been able to do. And, clearly Nick leading the way here for us. But you've got Brian Johnson, Sean Desai as offensive and defensive coordinator, and then Michael Clay is your special teams coordinator. So Clay, he's obviously people always gunning for him. Special teams has been doing much better. You got to have talent if you want to be good. And then Desai and Brian Johnson. Look, I just really think that give it a little time. We've had 4 weeks here, some injuries, some things that, just not going our way. And I think that once things start gelling midway through the year more so, I think this team will be dominating. And I truly still feel this is the best team in the league. So keep doing what you're doing. Now, let's get to know this team. And at the end, I'll show you it in a full list, like a depth chart and a practice squad, so you can see what's going on. Now, 3 quarterbacks on this roster, obviously led by Jalen Hurts. You got Mariota as backup, and then Tanner McKee, the rookie. Love the quarterback room. QB1. Let's go, baby. Looked great last week. Keep building on that. Now, the running back room, Kenny Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, Scott Penny. They just don't like Rashad Penny. I've been telling you guys that for a few weeks. They like what the other guys bring to the table more. And DeAndre Swift, man, keep feeding that young man the rock. He is doing phenomenal this year. He had like 6.8 yards per carry going into that game. And I think clearly, we got something special here. And I like Kenneth Gainwell. I do. But don't kid yourself. He needs to be running like 20% of the snaps. You need Swift for like 75 and then 5% to Boston Scott. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. He's still got 6.2 yards per carry, man. He's got 2 touchdowns there. I think he's doing well. So keep building on that. And obviously you've got some weapons at wide receiver, man. A.J. Brown is truly phenomenal. 14.3 yards per catch right now with 2 touchdowns. Devontae's got 12.9 yards per catch with 2 touchdowns. 414 yards for Brown, 284 for Smith. These guys, they are phenomenal. So keep feeding them the ball. You're always a chance to win with all the weapons I just mentioned there. Quez been banged up, but he was a full participant, so he should be back. Alameda getting to prove what he brings to the table, so more offensive reps for him would be great. Covey dealing with a concussion, so if he's out, Alameda would be the punt returner. So we'll see if Quez, maybe Boston Scott is the kick returner, but Covey there, 3rd in the league, kicking ass as a punt returner. Hopefully he gets healthy. Now, at tight end, you've got Dallas Goedert, who really just hasn't gotten anything going. 13 catches for 88 yards. It's only 6.8 yards per catch. No touchdown. So a huge part of this offense last year, Brian Johnson just not finding ways to scheme him open, not finding ways to just get the ball in his hands and let him get that yak. I think that's something that will come in time. But, yeah, it definitely is something weird to watch. Now, Stoll and Calcaterra, they're not going to be doing much there. And Alberto hasn't even suited up. So trying to get him acclimated. We'll see if he ever becomes, part of this roster. But this team, they've got talented tight ends that can do it all. You've got your F type, your Y type. You've got all kinds, the H-back role Jack Stoll can play. So you've got versatile tight ends here. But like to see them a little more acclimated, a little more 12 and 13 personnel running that ball, but also, the play fakes to these tight ends. Now, the offensive line, we talked about it, running people over when it comes to the run game and, struggling a little bit in the pass game. But Kelsey, Lane, Mailata, Dickerson, Cam, these dudes, one of the best lines in the game. But Cam Jurgens, dealing with a foot sprain. Unfortunately, it looks like he might miss a week or 2, maybe more. Sua Opeta will step in for him. Steen is the future there, but doesn't look like Stout thinks he's ready just yet. So I'll trust in Jeff Stoutland on that one. But you've also got Fred Johnson and Jack Driscoll there on the offensive line. So that was the offense for you. You see all you need to know, their numbers, everything. So you don't have to, all of the players on the Philadelphia Eagles. That was the offense. Now we're going to take a look at the defense. I'll give you the special teams and, of course, the practice squad as well. So you will know everyone that is on this roster, all of them, everybody on the IR. You'll see it all. So you see here, you've got Carter, Davis, Cox, Williams, Street, Tuipulotu, Ojomo. We talk about the deepest interior D line. Now, Fletcher Cox just had a back contusion, dude. Like, what? Unfortunately, looks like he will miss this game. So that sucks, but Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, it is time to step it on up. So for me, it sucks that Cox had that epidural or whatever the hell it was, and, he's going to be out. But how tough is he that he thought he might even play this Sunday? Looks like he won't now, but, dude, take your rest, young man, or old man it would be, because these young men, whoo boy. Now, my infatuation with Carter and Davis, because all this year and all last year I spent telling you why the Eagles had to draft specifically those two. So, I love them. But you also know I've been telling you about Milton Williams for the last few years here. In his third year, I've been telling you this is the breakout time and this is the game to go out and do it. So, yeah, I love those three as the future, Carter, Davis, and Williams. But you've got a great free agent addition in Kentavious Street. And it looks like Marlon Tuipulotu might miss this game as well, as he did not practice yesterday either. And, Ojomo is not suited up for a game, but excited about his future as well here. So if Tuipulotu misses this game with that tricep injury, you've got Cox and Tuipulotu out. That is just all the young men getting time to feast with Street there as the veteran. I'm all about it, baby. So sucks to see Cox hurt. Hopefully he heals up. Best of luck to him. But I'm ready to see these young men dominate. And I promise you, as I said this offseason, the media will be repeating that, and fans before sooner or later, because they're going to fall in love with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis if they haven't already. Now, at edge rusher, you've got Reddick, Sweat, Nolan Smith getting an uptick in reps each week. Let's go. Then you got BG, DB, and Patrick Johnson here. So quite the loaded edge rusher room. Hassan Reddick finally got that cast off last week, got himself a sack. So I think now that we talk about having the most pressures, I think you're going to see a lot more of those sacks we talked about now that he is healthy. Sweat, one of the most underrated edge rushers in the game. Nolan Smith, we all knew he needed time, and it was no surprise that he wasn't seeing a bunch of reps there to anyone who knew what was going on. But in due time, he will get his, and I'm looking forward to that. BG, DB, great veteran depth there. So love the edge rushers. And the linebackers here, this was an area, everybody telling me that these guys could never amount to anything. When I said we needed to sign Cunningham, Morrow, getting them, I know I caught a lot of slack for saying I liked it, but that was with Nakobe Dean healthy. With him hurt, they're still doing well. So I think people are getting on board with this one too. And Morrow playing lights out, dude. One of the best linebackers in the NFL right now, and wearing that green dot for Nakobe Dean. So next week when Nakobe Dean comes back, we've actually got a good problem. So I don't think the Eagles need to trade for a linebacker. They just need to figure out which linebackers they want to allocate what time to and in what kind of situation. So loving it. Then you got Christian Ellis helping you on special teams, a great depth piece there. So I like this linebacker room, regardless of what the media says about it. I think there's some excitement there, and I'm ready for Nakobe Dean. I've heard a lot of you telling me, you got to cut Nakobe Dean now. No, I don't want to cut the future at linebacker because the other ones are playing good. That's actually the opposite of what you want to do. So looking forward to him coming back. Now at cornerback, Avonte Maddox lost for the season, as well as Zach McPherson. Son of a bitch. So look, here you've got Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Josh Jobe. Those are our starters. And you've got Ringo, Ricks, and Goodrich there as depth. Now Ringo holding it down on special teams. Ricks, a little bit of special teams time. Goodrich did not suit up the week before, but last week got a little bit of special teams work. So these bottom guys can definitely help you in the special teams department. Not so much ready to play in the NFL. Definitely not Ricks or Goodrich right now. But, if anything were to happen, you'd have to emergency throw him in. And Ringo definitely needs time too. So Jobe, unfortunately, being thrown into the fire, but doing well for an undrafted kid, last year. But got to clean some things up, and I think we'll be all right there. Then at safety, dealing with Sidney Brown and Justin Evans being injured, that sucks. That was rough last week. Terrell Edmonds in there. I like him as a depth piece. Don't like him as a starter. I told you that all season. So As much as I said, you remember before the draft when I said, you guys wait till you learn about this Sidney Brown kid. If the Eagles draft him, I promise everyone will fall in love. And well, we did. And I think people will truly fall in love with this kid once he's starting next to Reed Blankenship, and that will be sooner rather than later. But Justin Evans, someone that everyone slept on this whole all season, said he would be cut. You saw it all, and I told you, look, I think he's in the roster. This dude, not only emergency returner, but I like what he's bringing to the safety room as a cover guy who can hit. And, you know, having that trio of Blankenship, Brown, and Evans, I've talked about the 3 safety sets, and, you know, Sidney Brown playing that big nickel. You're going to see a lot more of that, him having to play nickel against certain teams because, well, we lost our corner there. So it's not just Bradbury playing nickel with Job outside. You know, you've got some options now. So Sidney Brown can play a little inside, let James Bradbury go outside. You don't have to have Job outside all the time there, but again, this is all dependent on matchups, situation. So just keep all that stuff in mind. Now, special teams, we only got 2 guys there on this roster in Jake Elliott and Rick Lovato here. Rest come from the practice squad there, but that rounds up your 53-man roster. But don't worry, I did not forget the practice squad here. So here is the offense. You've got 8 guys here. Ward, Allen, and Nada, the receivers. You got running back Bryant Koback. And then 4 offensive linemen in Good, Jones, Toth, Clark, and Phillips there. So if anyone, you know, if Covey misses, maybe they elevate Ward if they don't feel, you know, good with Olamide back there. But Quez is back, so you have receivers. So I think Olamide should get that punt return rep. But, hey, maybe you elevate an offensive lineman with, you know, Cam Jurgens being out. So we'll see. But there are your offensive guys on the practice squad. And now the defense. They got rid of Kyron Johnson the other day. Added Bradley Roby here. Bradley Roby takes the number 33 from Tiawan Mullen. Mullen goes to 37. But you see, we got an interior defensive lineman in Thomas Booker. You've got an edge rusher in Teron Jackson, a linebacker in Van Sumeren, a safety in McCollum, and then 3 corners there in Mullen, Garner, and Roby. Now, Roby was there in practice yesterday. This guy can play inside. He can play outside. We talked about it when we signed him, but he is 31 years old. This will be his 10th year. And look, he's coming off an injury last year, so I'm hopeful. I'd love for him to play how he did, you know, 2 years ago, but we got to keep in mind, you know, he is 31 years old, and we need help, so that's why he's brought in, but he's on the practice squad in week 5 for a reason. If he was an all-pro like a lot of people are claiming, he would probably be starting somewhere on an active roster. So he actually has to prove it first before he's just the starting nickel cornerback. I know that pisses a lot of people off, but this is not Madden, unfortunately. And in real life, he's going to have to get up to game speed and learn the defense. So best of luck to Roby. I'm hoping he can take that, you know, next step and make it to the active roster. It'd be great to have him there with Job, with Sidney Brown mixing in. I think that would make things a lot easier. So welcome to the Eagles practice squad. Let's hope you are good enough to get to the active roster. So maybe he gets elevated this week. But if not, you know one guy is, and that's Braden Mann. So he's got his third shot here to prove what he's got. And then after that, you know, he has to be added to the active roster if he wants to be the punter here. So we would have to let somebody go, do whatever it may be. But, yeah, this is your last chance to prove it. Now, I'll be honest with you, has been horrible at punting the ball. He's just not good. And we talked about that when everybody wanted to sign him. But Sipos is terrible, so we needed someone else. So he's doing good holding the ball. Let's get those punts cleaned up here. Now, I just showed you all that. Excuse me. But apparently, I must have deleted the one page I was just about to show you, but it's the reserves. And you've got Sean Bradley on there. I think it was Fred Johnson. Obviously, Maddox and McPherson, and then, of course, Nakobe Dean. But Nakobe Dean will be coming off of that IR. So, not sure what the hell happened to the reserves page, but let's take a look at all that I just showed you in the depth chart here. You know Cam Jurgens will be out. Sasua Opeta will step in there. Best of luck to him. I thought he actually did pretty well when he stepped in. Definitely good against the run. A little work on the pass, though. But hey, he's surrounded by Kelsey Johnson and the rest of the guys, so I'm excited about it. This offense go out, whoop some ass. Then on the defensive side of the ball, no, if you've never seen this show before, anyone in green, that means they are new to the roster this year. Now, Fletcher Cox is reported out, but I haven't got the confirmation from the Eagles, so wasn't going to change it. But, you know, if he's out, Milton Williams, Davis, Carter Street, Ojomo, if Tuipulotu's out, those guys are all going to feast a healthy rotation. Let's even go. But I always show you 12 guys here so you can understand the 5-man fronts and also what it looks like when there's 4 men and the nickel cornerback, or however the hell they want to line it up. But you can see who the starters are now with Jobe outside, Bradbury inside, Morrow and Cunningham as linebackers. Again, Dean will be back next week. And I've told you, Sidney Brown will eventually be that starting guy at safety. So let's go. And Tristan Cullum, he was elevated, but he will not be elevated this week. Just promising you that one. Now, you've got special teams here. Braden Mann I threw in there. Obviously, he needs to be elevated, but so he's not on the depth chart technically. But Jake Elliott, Lovato, 2 of the best. You've got Covey at punt returner. If he is out, again, Alameda taking the reins there. Boston Scott, Quez Watkins, the kick returners. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your little recap. And in case you wanted to see that practice squad as a full list here are the 16 guys that were on that list I just showed you. So, again, hopefully Roby good enough to make it to the active roster, but he's going to have to prove it first. Now, there's a lot of information, but if you got anything from it, do me a favor, hit that like button. You can always subscribe down below if you guys have any thoughts on this, anything you want to talk about, whether it's the cap, the draft, some of the players, what's going on here, there, anywhere. I don't care. Let me know. But I hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic day. It is almost the weekend, but I'll be back with that injury report. I'm not sure how I want to do this. The Rams, they seem to have like a bunch of teenagers running their social media. So it's always like bippity boppity boo, like just like really weird stuff. Like there's no actual football content. So it's going to be rough with this team each week trying to find out who's injured, what's actually going on with their team, because they don't seem – it's LA. It makes sense. But, look, let's be real here. I think I'll do my best. Obviously, I'll try to outwork all of their reporters too. So I'll get all that information. Later today, you'll have the injury report for both teams, and then I'll give you the top matchups for this game coming up on Sunday. So 2 more videos coming your way, but if you like this one, appreciate that like and subscription. You guys are too kind. The comments have been nuts. I've been trying to keep up with all of you. I love it. Let's effing go 4-0. And I promise you, I'll keep repeating what I said this offseason. They will be the biggest Eagles fans their whole life. They grew up watching them. They are going to love the Eagles. I promise you. I know it's looked rough, but once we start dominating, everyone's going to be the biggest fan that never said a bad thing about them. I promise you that. Just let the people that don't know football be upset, and let's enjoy. Did you just see all the things I just showed you there? There, whatever. Yeah, dude, we're stacked. Dynasty season still in effect here. Let's go win that Super Bowl to get this bad boy started. But that's all I've got for you today. Hope to see you later on. But until then, I'm Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and as always, go Birds!